There it is. Yep. Let's see here. Share to a group. All right. Time for Sunset Story number 7 tonight. Sunset Story number 7. There it is, folks. Is it real? Is it real? That's what people want to know. Is it real? Yep. It's real. Sunset Story number 7. This is going to be a really good one. I strongly suggest that you find yourself a comfortable chair and pour yourself a stiff drink, because this one is going to be a good one. This story is called Buzz Aldrin and Lieutenant General Russel Honoré. Now, for those of you who don't know, Buzz Aldrin and Lieutenant General Russel Honoré. In early September of 2016, I get a call from my wife, Allie. She was in California. I was in New York City. I was renovating our new apartment in New York. Like, you know, there was hardly anything in the apartment. I was having it renovated. And I get this call from Allie, and she goes, "Hey, I just got a message from the manager of the club at West Point where we're going to have our event." We were having an event at West Point. It was a leadership training event. And we had Buzz Aldrin, and we had Lieutenant General Russel Honoré, the man who saved New Orleans after Katrina, who were scheduled to be our celebrity speakers. And we had more than 100 people registered to attend that event. She goes, "I just got a message from the manager of the club, said to please give him a call, and I just did not like the way it sounded, and I don't want to call him." She didn't want to call him. She did not want to call him because she did not like the way his voice sounded on the message. We had been having some troubles with West Point. We got contacted by the West Point legal department in July saying they did not like some of our marketing materials and they wanted us to make changes to the marketing materials. I made the changes to the marketing materials, and we thought that was it. And all of a sudden, Allie doesn't think that's it anymore. She gives me the number of the guy, and I call the guy and leave him a message. I don't remember his name right now. I go, "Hello, Mr. So-and-so. This is Clint Arthur. You left a message for my wife, Allison. We're having an event at your place on these dates, and I'm available for you to call me back when you get the message, and here's my number." He calls me back later that afternoon. And I answer my phone. This is Clint. And he goes, hello, Clint. This is so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm the manager here at the club. And I regret to inform you that I have been instructed by my superiors here at West Point Military Academy that your event is canceled. And I say, what do you mean my event is canceled? I have a signed contract. I've paid for the event in full in advance. He goes, yes, I understand that. But we are going to refund your money because your event is officially canceled. And I'm like, how can you be canceling my event? My event is less than 30 days away. I have 100 people coming to this event. I have Buzz Aldrin coming to this event. He's a West Point graduate. I have Lieutenant General Russel Honoré coming to this event. And the guy's like, I'm really sorry. It's really not in my hands. It was completely out of my hands. This was told to me by the very top people at West Point. Your event is canceled. I'm like, well, isn't there somebody that I could talk to? He goes, I really don't know. I'm like, look, there's got to be somebody who I could talk to. Who is the person that ordered you to cancel it? And he goes, the person who ordered me to cancel it is this person. And that person was the garrison commander of West Point. That's the top person. See, West Point Military Academy is known as a garrison. It's a military garrison. Everybody there is in the Army. And the garrison commander was the one who canceled the event. And I said, well, do you have that person's number? He gives me the guy's name. He gives me the guy's phone number. I hang up with him and I call the guy. Colonel so-and-so's office. Hello, my name is Clint Arthur, and I need to please speak with Colonel so-and-so about my event, which was supposed to happen on this date and which has been canceled. Hold, please. Guy comes back on. I'm sorry. The colonel is not available to talk to you right now, but if you leave your number, he will call you back. Okay? I leave my number. He calls me back later that afternoon. Colonel, I've been informed by the manager of the club that my event, which I had paid for in full and which I had a signed contract, has been canceled. He goes, oh yeah, I remember that. He goes, I got assigned to this post on July 1st. And your contract came across my desk on July 6th. And as soon as I saw your contract, I canceled that event because there's no way that you're going to have some event where people are going to come and they're going to pay to speak at West Point so that they can do some kind of marketing videos. That's just not going to happen. I'm like, but sir, I've already paid for the whole event. I have a signed contract. I have 100 people coming. I have a NASA astronaut who is a West Point graduate coming. I have a lieutenant general from the United States Army coming. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. I'm like, but sir, I have all this stuff. You can't just cancel my event out of nowhere. He goes, look, Clint, I know this is going to be hard for you, but you're going to have to figure something else out because you are not going to have that event at West Point. It's not going to happen. And I'm like, but sir, surely there has to be something that we can do. I mean, I have Buzz Aldrin, the most famous West Point graduate in the world living today. He is one of my speakers scheduled. He's flying in all the way from Ireland to come to this event. I have a 3-star Army general coming to this event. He's like, well, look, I can't talk to you anymore right now. I gotta go, but I'll call you tomorrow. Click. I call up Allie. She's still in LA. Now it's like, late in the afternoon. And she answers the phone. And I'm like, how are you? And I can hear she's been crying. She's been crying all day. Because, we had not just our reputations, not just, our hopes and dreams, but we had a lot of money tied up in this whole thing. Throwing events like this is not cheap. And it was like 30 days away. I go, how are you doing? She goes, how did it go? I'm like, it did not go good. What did he say? He says he's not going to let us do it. What are we going to do? I'm going to try to get him to do it. But you know how they say it's always darkest before the dawn? Well, it must be some kind of amazing dawn coming up because it looks really dark from here. Let me just say that, for weeks, that was the beginning of September, Allie was crying for the next 2 weeks because she thought our whole thing was all screwed up. For some crazy reason, the guy calls me back the next day. He does. And I answer my phone because I always answer my freaking phone. All you people who don't answer your phones, what are you doing that you can't answer your phone? I don't understand. I always answer my phone. Phone rings next morning. I answer it. This is Clint Arthur. Hello, Mr. Arthur. This is Colonel So-and-so from West Point. Yes, Colonel. Thanks so much for calling me back. I really appreciate it. We were talking about how you've canceled our event. I told you that I have Buzz Aldrin, West Point graduate, coming to the event. The man walked on the moon. He's flying in from Ireland to come to this event and be a speaker. I have Lieutenant General Honoré coming in. I've got 100 people registered. Isn't there anything we can do? And he goes, no, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. And I go, look, you originally scheduled me to have 3 days at your facility. Can I just have 1 day so that at least I can have Buzz Aldrin and General Honoré come and speak? Is it possible? I'm like, look, Colonel, Buzz Aldrin is a West Point graduate. Are you saying that he can't come to West Point? Oh, well, I guess Buzz can come. I'm like, you're telling me he can come, but he can't speak? Well, I guess Buzz can speak. All right, good. Now, what about General Honoré? He's a 3-star Army general. Are you telling me that he can't come and speak in your club? Oh, well, I guess General Honoré can speak, but nobody else. I go, well, look, Colonel, I got this guy, Mike Schlitz. He was a sergeant in the U.S. Army. He had a bad day in Iraq. He got burns all over 85% of his body when he stepped on an IED. Are you telling me that he can't speak? And then the colonel literally said this. He goes, listen, you're trying to nickel and dime me here with this kind of shit. You're pushing it. I told you that Buzz could speak. I told you that General Honoré could speak. You got 1 day. That's it. If you keep trying to nickel and dime me, I'll cancel the whole thing. I'm like, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. He hangs up. Okay, now we have 100 people coming for 3 days. We only have 1 day. What are we going to do? I call up Allie. All right, Allie, I convinced the colonel to let us have the club for one day. And he says that only Buzz can speak and only General Honoré can speak, nobody else. She goes, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to find someplace else nearby. We're going to do other stuff. Because, like, everybody was staying at the hotel. Everyone was, like, staying at the hotel. Let's see if we can find anything that we could do at the hotel. If they'll let us have some space. Because the hotel is on the grounds at West Point. I didn't know what we were going to do. I really, really did not know. All I knew was that if we could get onto the grounds at West Point, I had a feeling that we could make something happen. We go there and, like, the hotel is not cooperating with us. Not at all. The hotel is not cooperating. They are all booked. All their facilities are booked up for events. They don't want to help us. They're just not being nice. We find some nearby, like, event center about 10 minutes away. And we take everybody to the event center for the first day of training. This was on Friday. I do a full day of leadership speaker training at this event center. And everybody's dressed in their uniforms. See, like, part of what was so great about West Point was that I made these jackets. Like, I had this vision. I'm like, everybody should be in a uniform. Everybody should look like they're in the military. And in order to accomplish that, I said everybody has to wear black pants and a white button-down shirt and a black tie. And we are going to provide you with military jackets. And, like, all of this was to create this whole unified military theme for this West Point event. And I got these jackets custom made for us from this place that I found on the internet in Pakistan. And I remember they sent us a sample right around this time. They sent us a sample of the jacket. And it's funny. The jacket came from Pakistan via DHL for me to try it on. And it smelled so bad. It was like some guy in Pakistan had worn the jacket, like, to test it or something, and it had all of his body odor on it. It just smelled horrible. But we get all these jackets, and they were amazing. These green army jackets. A lot of people still have them, wear them. Beautiful patch, you know, like we made our own logo patch and had everybody's name stitched on the tapes, you know, tape on the chest. It was beautiful, beautiful. So we get everybody to show up Friday morning in these jackets and in their black pants and white shirts and black tie. Everybody looked excellent. And we take them to the event center and we teach them. And I teach them all day, like leadership speaker training. And then we started shooting videos with them. We shot videos of their speeches. Everybody made a speech of their story. It was kind of like our Harvard event, except it was at West Point. And everybody made their speeches, and we shot their videos on Friday afternoon. And on Saturday morning, we did it again. And on Friday night, we took everybody to dinner at the restaurant at the hotel. Like, they weren't going to let us have a dinner. We tried to organize a dinner in one of their ballrooms. They wouldn't do it. So we just had everybody show up at MacArthur's Cafe, named after General MacArthur, and MacArthur's Bistro or something like that. And then I had everybody say their speeches around the dinner tables, and we bonused everybody that dinner. And then I said, for anybody who wants to come, I'm doing a special bonus session tonight on Buffalo Soldier Field. Buffalo Soldier Field is a really cool place at West Point. That's where the cavalry used to do their training exercises. The Buffalo Soldiers, they were horseback mounted cavalry from West Point, and they would go out on the plains, and they used to train the cavalry on Buffalo Soldier Field. So I took everybody out to Buffalo Soldier Field. Of everyone that was there, we had like 100 people there. Of everyone that was there, we had more than 60 people. And I circled. Now this was really scary because I didn't know if they were going to do this or what. You know, we still hadn't been through the gates. There's two sets of gates when you go to West Point. The first set of gates at West Point is if you're going to go to the hotel, right? You have to pass through a security guard. There's a security guard there. And if you're going onto the base or if you're going to the hotel, he's got to let you go through. He's just a security guard. But then there's a military checkpoint to get onto the base itself. And in order to get to Buffalo Soldier Field, we had to go past this military checkpoint where they inspect every vehicle that goes onto the post. Now, because we were not driving on, we were just walking from the hotel past this checkpoint and then crossing the street and going on to Buffalo Soldier Field, theoretically, they weren't going to bother us. But I didn't know. Thank you. So we have dinner, and I said, okay, now anybody who wants to attend this bonus session, come with me. And like 60 people and I walk out of the hotel and down the hill, and then we start walking towards the military checkpoint where there's army men with guns in uniforms checking every vehicle that goes by. And as we're walking by, I'm trying to be nonchalant and cool, but inside I'm dying because I don't know if they're going to let us go there. I don't know if they're going to stop us. I don't know anything. I don't know a goddamn thing. All of us, all 60 of us are walking, and it's like clump, clump, clump. It's like a military procession. And we come up to this guard post, and nobody even looks at us. And we just keep walking, all of us, walking, and we cross past, everybody gets by the guard post, and then we cross the street, and we go out onto Buffalo Soldier Field. And I bring everybody out into the middle of the field. And this is where my background in the men's self-help community really paid off, because we used to do this ritual. We called them a ritual. Like in the men's groups, there's all kinds of ritual things that we do as exercises, as experiences. And I drew upon my experience in the men's divisions for this occasion. I'm like, all right, everybody circle up. And it took a long time to get the circle because there was a lot of people. I'm like, and then more people kept coming. And we have a big circle of like 60 people. I said, all right, everybody, this is the leadership acknowledgement ceremony. And we're going to go around the circle, and I want you to say your name. And then I want you to say the name of a man who you admire. And I want you, of a leader who you admire. Because this whole event was about leadership. I want you to say the name of a leader who you admire. And I want you to tell us briefly, like one sentence or less than a minute, about why you admire that leader. And I started off, and I think I said that I go, and I'll start, okay? My name is Clint Arthur, and the leader that I admire is General George S. Patton, the man who saved the free world during World War II. And my favorite quote from General George S. Patton is, "Accept the challenges so that you can feel the exhilaration of victory." And then we went around the circle. All 60 people said the name of a leader they admired and why they admired them. And there was a lot of really fascinating people who chose different leaders. Some people chose their father. Some people chose a teacher. Some people chose a military leader that was in their life. Several people, I think more than anybody, several people chose Tony Robbins, but more than anybody, people chose Jesus Christ. Of all the leaders that were singled out in the leadership acknowledgement ceremony, Jesus Christ was the leader that most people said. I think 3 people of the 60 selected Jesus Christ as the leader that they most admired. Several people admired Mother Teresa. Several people admired Barack Obama. It was really an amazing, beautiful ceremony that we did that night. And when it was all over, we walked back to the hotel, and everybody was very moved, including myself, because anytime when you have a big circle like that and people just get to speak and they weren't really expecting to speak or didn't know they were going to speak, or, they don't, and really nobody ever does shit like that. Nobody is ever, like, what people love about the stuff that I do with my groups, with my clients, is that I get people to reveal themselves. I get people to talk from their hearts. I get people to share things that are important to them on a personal level. And that just doesn't really happen, Everybody's so, focused on ideas about making money and business. And that's good. That's important. But you know what's really important? Having genuine human experiences. That's what's really important. And that's what I really like so much about the work that I do with so many of my clients, because I really try to stay focused on genuine human experiences, not just strategies and techniques to make money. Although, of course, that's very important. Saturday morning, we go back to our off-site location and we finish shooting videos for everybody. And after we finished, we had we had so much food there, we had, one of the things that's so great about the way we do events is that Allie takes care of everybody and feeds them and makes them feel comfortable and taken care of. After we finished our video shooting there and our lunch at the club, we got on a bus and we went back to West Point. And there's a cemetery at West Point. If you've never been there, it's quite remarkable. In that cemetery, you will find the earthly remains of General Schwarzkopf and like all these amazing military leaders from history of the United States. And one of the leaders that you will find there is General George Armstrong Custer. You know Custer's Last Stand? Yeah, that guy. Talk about Buffalo Soldiers. He died as a Buffalo Soldier out on the plains. And I came up with this idea. We would take everybody into the cemetery, and then we would see some of it and experience some of it. And then we would go to General Custer's grave and make videos of people speaking at the grave. Now, a lot of people, like I said, there was 100 people who were at this event as participants. Only 60 or so were at the Buffalo Soldier Field. So we had our video crew, and I said, okay, everybody here today is going to have an opportunity in front of General Custer's grave. And it's a beautiful obelisk with his name in giant letters, like 6 inches tall, and imagery of horse cavalry, on the side of the stone marker. It's a beautiful, beautiful marker. I want each person to volunteer to come up and tell us your name and tell us the name of a leader you admire, and in under 1 minute, tell us why you admire the leader. See? The night before, for those who had gone, had been like a dress rehearsal. And one by one, we were there and we shot videos of every single person speaking at the grave of General Custer. And it was a really moving ceremony, and everybody got to have a video of themselves speaking at General Custer's grave. And now there was a guy who was like a volunteer for us. His name was Mark Goo. Mark Goo, he was like a soldier at this event. Anything I would say to him, he'd say, yes, no problem. He was a freaking soldier. And I remember we had all these people and we had to meet our bus. And I knew the bus was going to be over there on the other side of some big giant pyramid memorial stones. But I didn't know how to get there. And I remember saying to Mark Goo, hey, Mark, we got to get all these people over there. I want you to go ahead and I want you to scout out the route for us to get there, because I don't want to be walking around in circles, lost, trying to find our way out of the cemetery. He goes, no problem. And he runs over there and he comes back. He's like, okay, I got it. Follow me. It was freaking awesome. It was just so awesome. And I don't know that I've ever felt more alive in my life than when we were at West Point doing that commando attack on the cemetery. Really. It was so exciting because it was completely unauthorized. In fact, it was really prohibited, because if you have a group like that, you're really supposed to have a tour. You're supposed to be led by a tour guide. And ultimately, we started getting calls from the official tour company, complaining that we violated their franchise on the base, and what we did was not permitted. And I'm and they're calling Allison, yelling, leaving her threatening messages. I'm like, just delete them, Allie, just delete them. That was Saturday. Now it comes to be Saturday night, and during the afternoon of Saturday, Buzz Aldrin shows up, okay? And he checks into the hotel. And General Honoré shows up, and he checks into the hotel. And now we have dinner. We have a VIP dinner scheduled at MacArthur's Cafe again with Buzz Aldrin. And so I'm sitting at the table with Buzz Aldrin next to me and General Honoré on the other side. And I said something that night that was one of the most incredible sentences I have ever said in my entire life, right? Buzz Aldrin sitting to my right. I turn to Buzz and I say, Buzz, do you know General Honoré? He goes, no, I don't. I'm like, well, Buzz Aldrin, this is Lieutenant General Russel Honoré. It was unfreaking believable. It was unbelievable that I'm like introducing two historical figures to one another. Oh man, that was so cool. That was really the coolest thing I've ever said in my whole life. And we're sitting there talking, and Allie's on the other side of Buzz, and then like I start rotating clients who are VIPs. Like at this event, we have like VIP attendees and just regular attendees, right? I start rotating my VIP attendees into my seat. I stand up and I'm like, I go over to this person. I'm like, Gail, go sit in my seat and I'll go take a picture of you sitting next to Buzz, and then I'll take a picture of you sitting next to General Honoré. And so Gail goes over and sits down next to Buzz and gets her picture with Buzz Aldrin. And then I shift over and she gets a picture with General Honoré. Gail Trauco ended up becoming very good friends with General Honoré. They still are in contact to this day. And I'm like rotating the people through. And I remember this one guy, who the heck was it? Like, he sat down next to Buzz and I took his picture, and he wasn't sure if he got a good picture or not. And I'm like, okay, man, that's enough. Got to go to the next person. He's like, yeah, but blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hey, man, I got a great picture of you. I need to move it along. It was very, look, here's the thing about taking photos with these major celebrities. Everybody wants it to be a great photo. And you know what? It's not easy to get a great photo. Everybody always feels like they didn't do a good job and they don't have a good photo. And I can't help that. My motto is, hey, as long as you're in the picture and we can recognize you, that's good enough. If you look great, that's a bonus. But the whole point is to have the photo. As long as you got the photo, you're good. But I understand when people are nervous or worried about it, because I remember when Allie and I went and got our photos with the Rolling Stones, she really felt like she didn't look good in the photo. She was worried her eyes weren't open, all this stuff. I knew I did great because I do these kinds of photos all the time. Comes to be the next day. And now we get everybody on the bus and we drive from the hotel to the facility where we're doing the event with Buzz Aldrin and General Honoré. And we show up there at like 9 o'clock. We have breakfast, lots of good food. And then Buzz Aldrin comes. And I've got to tell you something. Buzz Aldrin gave one of the most amazing speeches I've ever seen. I mean, it was all about his career and his life. And in this speech, he shows us the very first selfie photo taken. It was a picture that he took of himself while he was doing a spacewalk. And it was him in the foreground with the earth behind him. That was the first selfie. He invented the selfie. Then he showed us the picture that he took of his footprint on the moon. And he told us that picture right there is the most famous photograph on Earth, and he took it. Yeah, it's like the first footprint on the moon. Think about that. You go on Google and you type in first footprint on the moon, you'll see it's Buzz Aldrin's foot. And he took that photo. And then he also told us a very fascinating thing. And then he shows us this picture of him and his dad in a fighter jet. And he goes, now, you see that photo right there? That's a stage publicity photo. A photo like that of me and my father in the same jet fighter plane. That could never happen in real life. That only happened because of us wanting to have that staged publicity photo. That was another fascinating thing. It's like, look, celebrities take selfies. Celebrities take stage promotional photos. This is what we learn, right? And I said to, like, when his speech was over, everybody gave him a standing ovation. And I asked him, Buzz, what is the most important thing you ever learned? And he said that nothing is impossible. That was the overall theme of his speech, and everything he told us that day was that everything in the whole moon space race should be impossible, but all of it happened because nothing is impossible. And then everybody went up on the stage and got their photos with Buzz. And when Buzz left, we broke for lunch. And that's when it really got nervous for me. I forgot to say that before Buzz spoke, we had General Honoré speak. And General Honoré's whole speech was about how all the opportunities are on the other side of impossible. I can hear him right now. All the opportunities on the other side of impossible. I can hear him now. Now, we're waiting for lunch. And for some reason, the service, like, they didn't want to bring up the lunch until everybody's food was ready. And we're waiting, and everybody's hungry, and our time is going away. And I only have the one day, and I wanted to get back. I'm sorry, I can't really read what you're writing because I just can't see it. I wanted to get on with the speeches because I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to get on stage and speak. And I didn't know if that colonel was going to send in military police with guns to prevent us from getting on the stage. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was like getting pissed off at the restaurant personnel because they're not bringing the food. And I'm like, look, please serve the food. We got stuff we got to do. Please start serving the food. And begrudgingly, they served the food, served the lunch. And after the lunch is over, I get up on the stage and I talked for like 5 minutes. And then I said, okay, who wants to volunteer to come up on stage and tell us something, right? Oh, I started giving out awards. That's right. I gave out, one of the bonuses that I wanted to do for everybody at that event was I gave everyone an award for if they spoke at the, at Buffalo Soldier Field, or if they spoke at Custer's grave. I gave everybody an award. And I called them up one by one. And when they received the award, they got a photo of themselves receiving the award at West Point, and they got to give a short speech. And all of those speeches became videos that everyone got of themselves speaking on the same stage as Buzz Aldrin and General Honoré at West Point. And I got to tell you, those speeches, receiving their awards, those were the best speeches of all. Because at this point, everyone had spoken multiple times. Everyone had spoken the first night at dinner. Everyone had spoken at the recreation center when we shot their original speech. Everyone spoke or most people spoke at Buffalo Soldier Field, and everyone spoke at Custer's grave. And in between, there were other opportunities. And by that point, on the final day, when I called people up one at a time to receive their awards, and they got to say whatever they wanted, for a minute to 2 minutes. Those were the best speeches of all because the ideas had been condensed and rehearsed and tightened up and improved through the course of observing all these speakers all weekend long and through the course of speaking several times during the weekend. Everybody became amazing, amazing speakers. And as we're going through, it was like, that is the time when I was the most alive, probably in my entire adult life, because I didn't know if they would come in and shut us down at any moment. And I was just like, boom, boom, boom. So-and-so, come up here. You come up here. You come up here. Take the photo. Say what you want to say. And just hammering through. And I was like so aware of everything that was going on in that room. And every single person got to do their speech on the main stage at West Point, on the grounds, on the same stage as Buzz Aldrin and General Honoré. Pictures with both of those leaders too. And then when it was all over, we went outside and took a group photo at the club, in front of the club. And it was like such a freaking relief because we had done it. We had delivered the impossible. And before we went out, like after every single person had said what they wanted to say and everybody got to speak on the main stage at West Point, I went up there and I said, we've heard General Honoré and we heard Buzz Aldrin today, and both of them told us that all the opportunities are impossible. And that's why we're here today. And that's why we got to do what we did today, because this was impossible. Having 100 people speak at West Point was impossible. And people asked me today, how did you do it, Clint? How were you able to pull that off? And you know what I say? I really don't know. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's Sunset Story. I'll be back again tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Until next time, believe anything is possible. Good night, everybody.